Remember the last time that somebody cared about you and they got a little protective? How they were angry on your behalf? How did that feel? Did you feel loved? Did it remind you that you matter? Like, even if they were clumsy about it, maybe they went about it in a way that you don't appreciate. Was outside of your values. You would not have handled the situation that way. Didn't at least some part of you feel protected? And isn't it interesting how when other people get protective of us in that way, when they are angry on our behalf, we have all of those beautiful feelings and experiences that we associate with that. But when we're angry on our own behalf, it's a totally different story. We feel afraid and wrong for expressing it. Or sometimes we think we're wrong for feeling angry at all, whether we express it or not. What do you make of that? The truth that a lot of us never had the opportunity to learn for ourselves is that your anger is that best friend that has your back. Your anger is a part of you that loves you immensely, unconditionally. Your anger knows that your needs matter, your experiences matter, and your feelings matter. That's why it gets angry on behalf of those things. Your anger is the part of you that is willing to speak up and make sure that your needs are met. It values you and it has no questions about that. Other parts of you might have questions about that, but your anger does not. And when our anger turns inward, it's usually turning inward towards those other parts of us that have those questions. Because to your anger, your needs being met, unconditional. And so again, I find it really, really fascinating that we love it when other people feel this way about us, but we have been so conditioned to be shamed and feel shame whenever we dare to feel this way about ourselves. I don't know who taught you that, but who do you think it served? You or them? The issue has never been our anger. The issue is that we were taught to suppress it, repress it, fear it, hate it, use it in other ways, which we'll get into in a moment, among other things. And because of that, so many of us have broken relationships with our anger, when our anger is one of the most important, critical feelings that we have in our bodies. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips for repairing your relationship with your anger so that you can harness it. Anger can be a really great ingredient for self-empowerment. So let's dig in. Tip number 1 is more about the elephant in the room. I want us to notice the difference between anger and aggression. I learned about this in therapy, blew my mind. I'm describing a situation where somebody was angry towards me and what they would do when they were angry with me. My therapist said, "Tori, you're not describing anger to me. What I'm hearing is aggression." And I was like, what's the difference? So naturally, that was my therapy homework for the next week. The conclusion that I came to in my experience is that anger is a feeling that we feel in our bodies, and aggression can also be a feeling. It's a little bit more complex, but more often than not, aggression is what happens when we take that anger and we throw it at someone else to punish them or to force them to do whatever it is that we want them to do. Anger is a feeling that we feel in our bodies. It is that bestie that is standing up for us. It tells us what our needs are that are not being met. It tells us where our boundaries are, and it tells us where we need to advocate for ourselves. Anger isn't here to hurt anybody. Anger is only here to protect us. Aggression can be a little different, but I also want to be clear that aggression gets a bad rap. I talk more about that in the article that goes with this video, and so feel free to check the link in the description. I'm going to try to keep this video more strictly about anger to save time and not, dig into too many things at once. But yeah, that's tip number 1, is to notice the difference between anger and aggression. And I would recommend also noticing this in action, like out in the world. Notice how different people express their anger. Notice how different people express aggression. Notice these different things come up and start to distinguish between the two, like throughout your day. It's really eye-opening to start paying attention to that. It also gives you a lot of clues on who is safe and not safe for you. Just a pro tip. Once you spend some time noticing, okay, this is anger, this is aggression, notice it within yourself, notice it within the people around you. Now you can start to get a little bit more curious about your anger, and I would recommend asking your anger, what is it protecting? Like, you know how a lot of people will say there's something underneath anger a lot of the times. There will be hurt or pain. Or I remember during another session with my therapist, I was telling her that I feel rage, and she said, rage is deep anguish. That's what's underneath there. I think that all of that can be true. It doesn't have to always be true, but it totally can be true. Regardless though, I think the thing that we're not explicitly stating is that the anger is protecting whatever that is. The anger is the bestie that is big and bold and advocating for you and is willing to stand up for your needs. There are other softer parts of us that are more vulnerable and sweet. Anger is oftentimes protecting those parts from harm. I'm a big fan of talking to your body. One of the things that can be really helpful is like to literally ask inward to your body, to your anger, and just say, what are you protecting me from right now? And just see what comes up for you. Who knew that you could just talk to your subconscious? delicious. I would love to see in the comments what's coming up for those of you who tried that, because I got a bunch of cool comments on TikTok whenever we do it over there. And so it's always a really interesting experiment to see what comes up for people. But yeah, you can ask your anger, like, what are you protecting me from? Or what part of me are you protecting? And not always, but often it will answer us. And if it doesn't answer us, it's often a trust thing. And I talked about that more in the Feel Your Feelings video, where I went a little bit deeper into this whole like talking to your feelings bit. Anyway, a lot of people think that when we tap into our anger, it's here to make the more vulnerable pieces of us go away. Like we have to choose being one or the other. The truth is that they all belong in the same body, right? I have vulnerable parts. I also have angry parts and bold parts and strong parts and all these other parts. And the anger is here to help us create a safe space for those softer parts of us to exist. That's like its whole job. So anger does not want the people around who cannot be safe for those parts of us. And if they are around even somewhat, if we decide to negotiate a little bit, it has some pretty strict boundaries for what we share with them, what they are allowed to know, the kind of time that we give them, the kind of energy that we give them. Anger will dictate all of that if we allow it to, but a lot of us are so busy suppressing and repressing it that we don't allow it to. Sometimes anger may do that in a way that we disagree with, right? A lot of us have a history of when we did express anger, we did it in ways that we felt like wasn't the way that we really wish that we had done that, which leads me right into tip number 3, which is to reparent your anger. I'll put it like this. If you find your 3-year-old cleaning the carpet with a washcloth and she's saying that she's doing it because she wants to help, the carpet is sturdy and she wants to clean it, and so she found a washcloth and she's cleaning the carpet. You don't tell her to never clean the floor again, right? You don't tell her that she's useless and that she's never allowed to clean the floor again. And you don't punish her for helping the way that she helped, or at least I hope not, because she was just trying to help. You thank her for trying to help you, and then you show her how to clean the floor the right way. You show her the tools that you prefer that she use. So if in the past you learn to use your anger in a way of lashing out, yelling, punishing people, more aggressive types of behaviors, that doesn't mean that your anger was the problem. It means that you picked up those tools somewhere, right? Those are the tools that your anger had to use. It's just doing the best it can with what it had. And now you're older, you're wiser, you have access to more information, more tools, more resources that allow you to hand different tools over to your anger so you can learn how to express your anger in healthier ways. Once your mind, body get in alignment and realize that these new tools that you're coming up with can actually help you get your needs met and serve you in a way that doesn't cause as much harm as those other tools do, it will be easier to use the new tools. Your anger was never the problem. Your anger is doing the best it can with what it's got. Apparently, whoever raised you gave it a washcloth. So that's what it has, okay? Now we're adults, now we get to give it something else. That simple. And so this requires us to really learn and lean into a lot of different healthy expressions of anger and healthy expressions of aggression, actually, which I go over both of those things in the article. I also dig deeper into how we can really harness anger as a tool for self-empowerment along the way. So just to recap what we've gone over in this video specifically, number 1 is to notice the difference between anger and aggression, come up with a solidified definition of those two things for yourself and compare them to your experience, how you're witnessing other people express them, how you're feeling them come up in your body as well. Tip number 2 is to start communicating with your anger, start getting into a practice of asking it what it's protecting, because all it's doing is protecting the softer, more vulnerable parts of you. That's its whole job. It takes it very seriously. Its job is to create a safe space for you to be whole. And then number 3, reparent your anger. If there are ways that you're expressing it and that it's coming out that you don't like, teach it how to use different tools, okay? Anger isn't the problem. The tools that it learned to use might be a problem. It's not serving you right now. Maybe it served you back then. I'm sure it picked them up for a reason, right? But it's not serving you right now, so we're gonna pick up different tools, and that's gonna be super helpful. And if you wanna get deeper into any of this, go ahead and check out the article. I will link it in the description. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more. Okay, bye.